Okay, good morning, everybody. I know we have a big group of you today, and we're pleased that you were able to join us for the overview of the 2026 contract. So this is an opportunity for you to ask questions also at the end. So please keep your questions, write your questions down, and please ask them at the end. And this is also being recorded, and we will post it on our website, and we will send the recording to you as well. So if there are staff in your agencies who weren't able to attend, they will be able to listen to the recording as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mindy. And Mindy will do the training on attachment B. I knew that. Welcome, Mindy.
Thank you.
I could do the background, that's all right. Okay. All right, so before we go to Mindy, the email was sent to all of you on Wednesday, May 28th. If you did not receive it, though I'm thinking if you're here, you probably did. But if you did, you could reach out to your program analyst. And what you should have received was the contract attachments B and C and the checklist 2026. The electronic Excel version of attachment B and C must be submitted via email to us in the general mailbox, and you can see on your screen the email address with a copy to your assigned program analyst. So make sure you don't forget to also send it to your program analyst, and make sure you do that no later than the close of business Wednesday, June 25th. And of course, meanwhile, as you're working on the contract, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your program analyst, or I'm also your fiscal analyst as well.
Thank you.
And now,
I'll just add an addendum.
Yep.
We need to update this. At the last part of the training today, I'll review how you can, how subrecipients can submit their documents through the SharePoint document portal. So we'll have that information.
all right. Thanks, Ava. And now we go to attachment B.
Yes. You go to B1, please. So I'd like to start by the accountants and I have all discussed different things that we see while reviewing the contracts, and we just wanted to provide several pointers and sticking points so that maybe to help cut down on contract review time. I want to start with 45 CFR 75.413 and 414. 75.413 breaks out direct costs, which are costs that can be identified specifically with a particular cost objective that can be directly assigned to the award with a high degree of accuracy. They are also incurred specifically for that award and necessary to achieve the award's objectives. And 75.414 breaks out indirect costs, which are expenses incurred by the agency that are not directly tied to a specific project, but are essential for the overall operation of the organization. And I will start with B1. I'd like to remind everyone that all dollar amounts entered into this form must be in whole dollars, no decimals or formulas. They can create rounding errors, and if it is necessary to perform a calculation, please do it independently of the budget worksheet cells. I would suggest to the right of the worksheet as opposed to in the worksheet itself. Down under descriptions for the contractual and equipment, another thing they asked me to point out is when there is an amendment, please make sure that the reason for the amendment is included in the provided space. I know it's not relevant here, but that is crucial when we do receive an amendment. And if it's not included, it will hold up review of that amendment. Okay, contractual services, I'd just like to point out, this should include professional and technical services necessary for the operation of the CSBG funded programs. And then down to equipment purchase lease. This should include non-expendable property with a unit cost of $5,000 or more and having a useful life of more than 1 year. B1, please. Oh, B2, sorry. Just like to point out here, per 45 CFR 75.430, the dollars charged to the federal grants for salaries must be based on records that accurately reflect the work performed. This can be proven via timesheet where the employee breaks down their actual activities. The total annual salary column, I'd just like to point out that this should be the total annual gross salary before any payroll deductions. The CSBG grant funds direct column, this is, I'd just like to point out that any administrative titles you are budgeting as direct must be also included on the B2 justification tab. B2 justification, please. Yes. Can you scroll down to the bottom? And I'd just like to point out here that a lot of the titles that you would not normally see as direct, if you are budgeting those as direct, they'll need the explanation on this tab. Thank you. B3. Okay, I'd just like to point out that the more detail provided on this tab, the fewer questions we will have to support justification as an allowable item. And I'd also like to point at the bottom of this worksheet, there's a tab called expenditure descriptions. That provides descriptions of general items we typically see included for consideration across the entire network. Okay, back to B3, please. Okay, I'll start in bank charges. Normally, this would be fees for checks or bank charges for monthly statements. Beneficiary client costs, which is also defined in 45 CFR 75.456, is participant support costs. These are allowances paid on behalf of clients. 5C, board allowance and development. These should be reasonable allowances for board training and development, board trainings and participation at board and committee meetings. Reasonable costs for refreshments are allowable with prior DOS approval. And I'd like to point out that board travel would not be included here. It should be included under 5L travel. Consumable supplies under direct. These are supplies that can be directly tied to a funding source. And then under admin, these are supplies like paper, toner, pens, items like those that benefit all agency programs and cannot be tied to one funding source. Under employee training 5E, these are dues to professional organizations, seminar and conference fees, educational programs for employee development, and also employee recruitment charges, including background checks, fingerprinting, etc. I'd also like to point out that trainings budgeted in the employee training development in 5A. The trainings budgeted in this category should be for employee development to support individuals listed on the CSBG budget. 5F. Typically, you'd see insurance budgeted under admin. These are insurance premiums for all types of insurance. And in general, insurance and bonding costs should be considered administrative by nature since they benefit the agency as a whole. 5G, postage. As described, it's the cost of postage, freight, or express mail charges to transport materials, documents, or communications. This category does not include transporting of equipment purchased from a manufacturer or seller. This should be included under the equipment costs on B1. And 5H, publications, printing and subscriptions. As described, these are informational materials, newsletters, annual reports, etc. I was asked to point out that organizational memberships and dues should be budgeted here. The professional dues, as I mentioned earlier, should be budgeted under employee training, development, and recruitment 5A. Repairs and services 5I. This is for maintenance of office equipment and furniture, program equipment, and other non-technical services. 5J, space costs. These will be rental or lease expenses, maintenance, including janitorial, snow removal, waste, garbage removal, etc. Utilities. And this section should also be used to budget for other space costs, including alarm systems, security services, etc. 5K, telephone and electronic communications. These are general expenses for telephone and other electronic communications like internet. 5L, travel. This is for agency and vehicle-related expenses and employee and board member travel on agency-related business. And this section should also comply with the grantee's predetermined travel policies. 5M, program outreach and public relations. This section should include activities dedicated to maintaining the image of the organization or maintaining or promoting favorable relations with the community or public at large. The only allowable public relations marketing costs are costs specifically required by the federal award, the cost of communicating with the public pertaining to specific activities or accomplishments, or the cost of conducting general liaison to keep the public informed on matters of public concern. And 5N, technology. Individual items used for information technology that do not exceed $5,000 should be budgeted here, and that would include computers, printers, scanners, servers, software licenses, etc. And I'd also like to point out that when in doubt regarding the allowability of a cost or item, please reach out to the fiscal representative. This will reduce delays in the contract approval process. And finally, as a reminder, there was an MWBE training in April. And with any questions, please reach out to the MWBE or program analysts. Thank you.
Okay, now we're just going to do a brief overview of attachment C. If any of you have had the chance to take a look at it, you're going to see there are very, very minor changes from last year's contract. So Katie and I are just going to go over briefly how to complete each of the pages. So I'm going to start with C1A, the needs assessment. You're going to enter the date of your most recent assessment. If you're currently completing a new assessment, we ask that you please make that comment so we don't have to come back and question you that you put the wrong date in. Under number 2, you're just going to briefly describe the process used to conduct the assessment, including the involvement of low-income persons, community served, agency staff member, and board of directors. We're not looking for a novel, just a brief statement that includes those certain points there. C1B, programs and services to address the demonstrated community needs. And number 1, you are going to name the community served. And underneath that, the location, you're going to list the name of the county. Under You're going to insert the greatest demonstrated needs listed in your most recent community needs assessment. And then next to that, you're going to identify programs and services that will address the need. I just want to point out, I know a lot of you cut and paste, and that's fine. I would do the same thing. Just make sure when you're cutting and pasting that you're reinserting the correct budget period. That's one of the biggest mistakes we find when we're reviewing these. C1C, strategic plan goals and objectives. We ask that you add the time frame of your most current strategic plan, then list the goals and corresponding objectives. And it's very important that you check the box that indicates if the goal is supported or isn't supported by CSBG funding. C2A, agency capacity building. All right, so this one you're going to start up on the right-hand corner and select the type of document from the drop-down box. So for your initial contract, it's going to be work plan. Under intervention, list the activity that will address the need or strategic plan objective.
I'm gonna pause here for a second until we can get it back up.
Yep.
Thanks, Anna.
Okay, under benchmark, list the expected outcome of the capacity building activity. Enter an MPI or service code if one is available for your benchmark. Under method of measurement, briefly describe the tool or process to be used to verify progress on the outcome. And under annual target, provide the number of participants expected to achieve the identified outcome. C2B is agency partners. Under method of measurement, briefly describe the tool or process used to verify progress on the outcome. This is required. We find a lot that this is missing when we do the review. And we're just looking for one method that you're going to use to verify all these partners. And then we ask that you complete the annual target for each partnership. Work plan and program progress report, C2C. Up at the top on the right-hand side, next to the description, we need identify the need that documents the reason for the program services milestones. Then you're going to enter the name of the program that's addressing the need. List the name of the county being served. Under intervention, very briefly describe the service, activities, and advocacy that will address the need and achieve the outcome. Under benchmark, list the projected number of participants seeking assistance, then identify the expected benchmarks or milestones and outcomes to be achieved for the service or activity. This just serves as a reminder. If you remember last year when you were completing the 2024 annual report, we were issued new modules, module 3s and module 4s that because the following service codes and strategies were removed. So we asked that this year again, please do not include SRB 7L, Immigration Support Services, STRG G2E, Build Support Increase Equity, STR6 G2F, Equity Awareness Campaign. I don't know, Jackie, did you want to add? No? Okay. Okay, we're going to move to C2D, the narrative. You're not going to use this form for your initial contract. We just ask, you put your name on there, you fill out the budget period, fiscal year, and your contract number. You will start using this to report for each quarter after. We ask that you provide a narrative for annual targets that are below and or over 120%. And then describe a corrective measure undertaken to address challenges during this period. If it's simply because your program hasn't started, for example, VITA, That's all you need to put on there. The program starts in third quarter. We're not asking you again to write us, a novel to explain each of these discrepancies. Summary, am I on the right one? Okay. Summary of work plan and attachment C3A. You're going to start by entering the work plan page number and then enter the data from C2A agency capacity building, C2B agency partners, and C2C work plan under the demonstrated need and program priority name. Then you're going to select one primary service domain from the drop-down menu for each demonstrated need and program priority program. That's just a lot of. Select the description of need, family, community, agency. Enter the budget amounts in each column for the CSBG grant funds direct, prior year unexpended funds, and other resources. That's the only, this is where the change comes in from last year. We added back in prior year and we changed cash resources, now reads other resources. You're going to enter, or under the total admin costs, enter the data from the respective lines on attachment B pages and verify the budget check on the bottom amounts is 0.
Okay, for C3B, the planned use of CSBG funds, on line 1, you're going to enter the 2026 CSBG allocation. That should match what you put on B1. For line 2, you're going to enter any prior year unexpended. On line 3, you just want to verify that those two amounts added together correctly. Then you're going to enter the planned budget amounts in the respective service domains. Each column should cross-check to the primary service domains listed on attachment C3A. So on that prior page, those numbers just have to line up across C3A and C3B. On line 5, you're going to enter funds direct charges for administration other than the funds listed on line 6 on attachment B1. Then on line 6, you're going to enter the total CSBG grant funds approved for indirect cost rate or de minimis cost rate. And on line 7, enter the total CSBG funds awarded to delegate agencies. And then you're just going to verify the self-totaling on line 8. That bottom section, if CSBG spending on administrative costs exceeds 15%, please just briefly explain why. Doesn't have to be very long, just a brief explanation, but that is missing a lot, so I just wanted to point that out. We can move to C3C. This is the planned use of CSBG funds by delegate agencies. This form will only be completed if your agency provides CSBG funding to delegate agencies. If you do, you're going to complete C3C the same way that you complete C3B, just for the delegate costs. And on C4A, that is the linkages page. You're going to describe the relationship that your agency has with the local workforce investment board. Moving on to C4B, that's child support services and referrals. Describe the process your agency uses to inform custodial parents in a single parent families that participate in CSBG funded programs, services, and activities of the availability of child support services and refer eligible parents to the Child Support Office of state and local governments. C4C is innovative initiative. This form remains optional. And then the community initiative corresponds to the CSBG annual report module 3. The last page is the C4D innovative initiative. This form is required, so please make sure that you're describing an innovative initiative that your agency is partaking in. Next, we're going to go to common CSBG work plan errors. These are things that we see a lot, that if you correct them before the attachments are submitted, that it won't take as long to process them. We see a lot of the wrong work plan template was used. We've changed minor things over the years, so if we're noticing that you have pages that aren't included anymore, we're going to send that back to you. If the annual targets don't match the benchmark or milestone on your work plan, that's an error. If the CSBG direct fund amounts are miscalculated on the summary page, which is C3A, and that goes hand in hand with the admin funds on the C3A, not matching what you had listed on attachment B. If there's missing or incorrect contract numbers, incorrect contract period, if you're missing the time frame for the strategic plan page, missing method of measurement on both agency partners page, which is C2B, and throughout the work plan pages of C2C. And then if you are missing the explanation on C3B, if CSBG spending on administrative funds exceeds 15%, if you're not using whole numbers throughout attachment B and C, or using formulas, because like Mindy said earlier, that can make rounding errors. NPIs and service codes do not match the program, service, and or activity. Then next, we'll go over issues that can delay the contract approval outside of the attachments. That would, responsibility questionnaire is outdated. Amy G is going to go over that next. Certification of workers' compensation and certification of disability insurance is expired, and or the Department of State is not listed as the certificate holder. If the charity's registration is not current, if the pre-qualification is not complete in the SFS statewide financial system, if the master signature page does not contain an original signature, or the dates are different for the agency representative and the notary, those dates have to match. The standard voucher was not submitted or does not contain a signature. And then we have some helpful resources, the NASCAS annual report webpage that also lists, you can find the NPI and service codes on that page. SFS pre-qualification, vendor responsibility questionnaire, Charities Bureau, and the New York State Community Action Plan templates. Those are the ones that both NISCA and DOS worked on. They can be really helpful to put together your C2C pages. And that's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you, Mindy. Good morning. My name is Amy Gonzalez, and I'm a program analyst that works in the administrative review unit. One of the items that I do work on is checking our vendors' responsibility. So during this presentation, I'm going to talk about a vendor. And when I say vendor, I mean subrecipient, eligible entity, community action agency. And when I say agency, I mean DCS, the Division of Community Services, or us. So you're going to be the vendor and we are the agency. So the Division of Community Services completes a vendor responsibility review on all vendors during the contract process. This usually occurs toward the end of the review process with DCS. And we're required to assess your responsibility as a vendor because it protects the vendor and agency against failed contracts. It proactively solves and mitigates problems. It avoids contracting with non-responsible vendors and protects public funds, promoting fairness. So we use internal and external resources to search for any adverse or concerning information. And one major part of assessing responsibility includes reviewing the responses in your vendor questionnaire. So I will look in that New York State VendRep system to look up your information. The vendor responsibility questionnaire is designed to help assess the vendor's responsibility, and you may wonder what a responsible vendor looks like. New York State uses the acronym FLIP. So we want to know, do you have the financial and organizational capacity to perform contractual obligations? Is there any information that calls your financial viability into question? A recent bankruptcy or a high dollar amount settlement? We're also going to look to see if you have the legal authority to do business with the state. Do you have required licenses that are needed? Have you been debarred? Under integrity, we're going to look to see that you have integrity to justify the award of those public dollars. So we will look to see, have you been suspended or debarred from a government contract before? And then we're also going to look at your record of past performance. Have you met contractual obligations in the past or not? So an online questionnaire is considered current if it's been certified in the past 6 months. However, even when there's a current certified online questionnaire, it is your responsibility to ensure that the questionnaire reflects any material changes that have occurred since you last certified. So at times, we may ask you to update your vendor responsibility when information comes to our attention that may raise a concern. So what might require an update to your vendor responsibility questionnaire? If we look at the fiscal and program quarterly attestation form, we're going to look at some responses that might require you to update your VRQ. So this is a form that you complete quarterly, and the information there is similar to what we're going to see in the questionnaire. It's going to discuss financial and organizational capacity, legal authority, integrity, and past performance. You can go to the next slide. So for anyone who's not familiar with the quarterly attestation, there's a large fiscal section, and many of these questions are going to tie directly to your vendor responsibility questionnaire. You can go to the next slide, Selah. So in particular, when we look at the fiscal section, if you answer yes to number 8, have any funding sources suspended, disallowed, or withdrawn funding from your agency within the past 3 months? This question is going to tie closely to section 4, integrity, contract bidding, and that asks, has the entity been suspended or debarred from any government contracting process? It's also going to tie to section 5, integrity under contract award. Has the entity been suspended, canceled, or terminated for cause on any government contract? So you can see how the information in the attestation mirrors the information in the VRQ. If we see an update on the VRQ, we would anticipate that if we see an update on your attestation, we would anticipate that you're also going to update your VRQ. And if we find it has not been updated, we will reach out to ask you to make an update. So looking at the next one, this one is section 7, legal proceedings. It's also closely tied to your attestation. This is going to talk about any pending lawsuits or other pending legal issues. Has the entity been the subject of an investigation by any government entity for a civil or criminal investigation? So again, checking yes on your attestation may mean that you need to visit your VRQ again. On question 5 and 10 on the attestation, those are around audits, and 11 addresses findings from monitoring visits. And when looking at the VRQ, section 9 specifically asks questions about unsatisfactory performance on contracts. And 9.6 asks about questions with audits that relate to material weaknesses, non-compliance, and material disallowance. So when answering yes to these questions, we're going to ask for explanations of those issues. And we'll look at that a little bit farther in the presentation. So I won't read through, but these are some examples of information that has been reported in the VRQ. And in particular, you should just pay attention to the items that are in bold. Those are the keywords. So termination of a contract, if you've been assessed a penalty, if you're in a civil lawsuit, if you have a corrective action plan, and then the last 3 all revolve around investigations. Selah, I think you can go on to the next slide. There's a few more examples. So again, these continue to be the common items that we will see on a VRQ. And again, if you pay attention to the items in bold, those are usually our keywords, but you will get a copy of the slide deck so you can take your time to read through these. So what happens when an issue is disclosed by the vendor or found by the state contracting entity? So when you check yes to particular questions in the vendor responsibility questionnaire, we on our side will see a little flag next to that section, and that tells us that there's information that we need to review. In general, we commonly see flags in section 5, contract award, section 7, legal proceedings, Section 8, leadership integrity, and Section 9, financial and organizational capacity. So if we look a little bit closer, this is Section 5, integrity. You'll see that some questions reference a time period. So in this example, it says within the past 5 years. So it's important to note that there are look back periods, and those periods refer to the date of the resolution, not the date that the issue occurred. So if a government contract was terminated for cause in 2022, you should continue to report that here. If a government contract was terminated for cause in 2018, you would not need to continue to report that here. So after you check yes, you'll also see that the vendor is going to be asked to provide sufficient detail of what occurred, the date of the incident, any corrective action, or a current status of the issue. And below that, you're going to be able to enter information into a box, or you can attach additional documentation to provide your explanation. Okay, so we looked at integrity for an example, but let's also look at Section 7, legal proceedings. Again, like Section 5, you'll see that this question references a time period. And in this example, it says within the past 5 years. So it's important to pay attention to the look back period and remember again that it's based on the date of the resolution, not the date the issue occurred. Legal issues tend to take time to resolve. So if an issue occurred in 2018 but wasn't fully resolved until 2022, it should continue to be reported on your VRQ until 5 years after the resolution. Okay, so flags happen. When cautionary information is found during the review or research related to the vendor's financial and legal standing, integrity, and past performance, we will address the findings with you, the vendor, and provide you an opportunity to explain or resolve the issue. DCS will review those explanations and will work with legal counsel to assess the issue and determine the vendor's responsibility. An issue does not preclude the agency from contracting with the vendor. There are things that will be considered. Did the vendor respond in a timely manner to address the issue? Were they quick to resolve any penalties or fines? Have they put a corrective action plan in place? While the vendor may have adverse disclosures, do their actions to correct any issues show them to be responsible? So ultimately, the agency, DCS, must assess and weigh all findings to determine if the vendor is responsible. So after we've done our review and assessment, we send our information to the Office of the State Comptroller, and they also check our responsibility review. At times, they may identify other potential flags. And when this occurs, we will reach out to the vendor and ask for a detailed explanation. Then we will provide that summary or summarize the corrective action and work with legal counsel to assess if the vendor is responsible. On the next slide, again, I won't read through it, but these are common examples that the Office of State Comptroller has found when they review our vendor responsibility and have asked further questions. Generally, that goes around a net loss, a negative fund balance, a material weakness in an audit, a significant net loss, decrease in fund balance. And I think that was it. Those are the primary ones that we see for OCS or OSC. So to review, DCS completes a review during the what process to assess vendor responsibility. Is anybody able to unmute, or can they put an answer in the chat?
Yeah, we can have them put answers in the chat. I think it's the easiest way.
Okay. If anybody wants to take a guess at what DCS completes a review during what process to assess vendor responsibility? Are you seeing any answers?
No brave folks here.
During the contract process. And again, we do that after we've pretty much completed our review of your contract and are ready to send that off for further review with fiscal and the Office of State Comptroller. So this next question is going to revolve around that acronym FLIP. So a responsible vendor has you can just do the answers if you want, Sayla, if everybody doesn't want to engage. Yes, they have the financial and organizational capacity. They have legal authority, integrity, and a good record of past performance. The VRQ is designed to help assess the vendor's responsibility. The VRQ is considered current if it has been certified within the past.
I know you guys know this.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we got a few, all right.
Within the past 6 months. And again, if we see anything on an attestation, we may ask for you to make that update more timely than waiting for the 6-month time period. When completing the VRQ, the look back period refers to the date of the blank, not the date of the issue.
We're getting a lot of resolution.
Excellent. The date of the resolution. Thank you. And then when reporting an issue, it's important to provide what kind of explanation of that issue.
Detailed,
Excellent.
full.
Good. We're going to need a detailed explanation of the issue. So that's everything that I have for vendor responsibility. And I think I get to turn it over to Sayla for SharePoint.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. So submitting the contract documents, the email did say you can email the email that we sent out, you can reply back to that email, our ARU email address, and copy the program analyst. Or you can use our SharePoint. Or you can use the DCS SharePoint document portal. How about now? Okay. All right, hopefully you can hear me better now. So the place to start is your dashboard. What you're seeing right now is that dashboard. Okay. Think so. Okay. And hopefully you can hear me better now. Great. Okay. For SharePoint, if you're not able to access your SharePoint or you haven't been set up yet, the person to contact would be your executive director or CEO and your program analyst. You can also send us an email here at the shared mailbox so that we can give you access to your agency's dashboard and on our document portal. So this is what you'll see up top here. Division of Community Services document portal and the dashboard. Your agency will be here. You'll have your program analyst, fiscal field rep, our shared mailbox, and the MWBE mailbox. We also have our Department of State website links, like our main page, newsletter, advisory council, our reports, state plan, and then our links to our YouTube channels, which is our public meetings, like the advisory council, as well as our training recordings, which is where this training will be definitely by the end of this week. If you scroll down on your dashboard here, there's two libraries. One is subrecipient forms. And what we're going to look at today is the external library. And you'll click See All. So I have some screenshots here, but I'll switch so you can see it live. So you'll see that your library, this is what'll come up, and that there should be at least three folders, one for quarterly reports, one for organizational standards and indicators. That's your across and tracks. What we're focused on today here is your CSBG contract documents. When you click on that, you'll see 2026. You do not have to create folders for prior years. This is just for current and going forward. And again, this is optional. And when you open that folder, you'll see it'll say this folder is empty, but you can drag and drop files here to access them from any device, or you can click upload. So I'm going to switch back here. So we'll go through this live. If you're on here, you're on your dashboard, and you can scroll down, say upload here, and click see all. Your contract documents 2026. So you can drag and drop just the same as you would do with any files. We can click upload. I've got mine saved here, and we're going to see. All right, so we can see that it's uploading and get like a little status bar down here. It says upload, and right here you can see it's got this little, it's new, it's shiny. You see that it's modified a few seconds ago by me when it was created by. So you can do that, or you can drag and drop. And I can show you drag and drop. Got a lot of things open right now. So you can also drag and drop just as easily. Ta-da! So we think this is an easy way to share documents together, and I have done other SharePoint specific trainings and happy to do those again with staff. We can do one-on-one. We can do it for all staff at your agency, whatever works best for your team. And going back here, you can see organizational standards, so your across and tracks. And you can also use it to submit quarterly reports. The other thing that I wanted to mention, going back to attachment B, is that here in our subrecipient forms library, this is our reference links, and you can download. If you click see all, this is where the MWBE training and handouts from the training in April are for you to reference. We will also add here a folder for the contract training. We'll put the slides here, and the recording of the training will be on our YouTube. Let me show you how you can access that. Scroll down on your dashboard. They all look the same. The only difference is your library. Click training recordings. It'll bring you here to our YouTube, and you can see right now we have the organizational standards trainings. The only thing missing here, like I said, the MWBE training that we did in April, that's going to be back on the SharePoint library itself. It's not on our full YouTube, but we've got our contract training for the last few years here. You can see 25, 24, 22. And that's where this training for today will be, definitely by the end of this week. So I'll switch back here. Where am I going? Oh. What was that question?
Should they email to those?
Okay, good question from Brandy. You can either submit via email or through the SharePoint, but you don't have to do both. Let's let's see. Right. So sorry, scrolling back through. That's it for SharePoint. I think once folks start using SharePoint, it becomes a little more intuitive. But if you have any questions about SharePoint or anything with the contract, let's see. We are not notified automatically right now. So if you do upload the contract documents to SharePoint, if you can just send an email to let your program analyst know that they're there. We will be checking to make sure they're there. And you can do that for all of the contract documents, not just. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. This will be, I think, for Amy. Okay. Is there an estimated deadline for submitting additional contracting documents?
So we didn't release the additional contracting documents with the B and C on purpose. The purpose behind that is we know sometimes these internal reviews take a long time, and we run into the situation where when you send everything back and we start to put that contract package together, well, sometimes your SFS expired, your vendor responsibility expired. So when your contract gets midway through our internal review process, we will send you the additional documentation. So there's no set date right now, because most of you are going to get them at a different time. And we'll probably give you a 2-week turnaround time to get those documents back to us. With that being said, for any of you that haven't been to the regional meeting or will be attending the last one, I talked about we have updated our internal contract workflow. We are going to try to streamline the review of these contracts, starting with the 2026 contracts. Your program analyst will get your initial contract, and then once they upload that contract, the review is going to be moved to the fiscal team and my ARU team. Any edits or questions we have on your contract will either come from myself or Katie. Your analyst will be included on all the emails, but the majority of the review will be done by fiscal and the ARU, and we're hoping that this will move the review process quicker. We'll relook at the process after we get through all the 26 contracts and see if it made a difference. And we'll probably look for your feedback to see how, you guys thought it went. So, don't be surprised if you start getting weird emails to myself or Katie. It'll be about your contract. But like I said, your program analyst will be CC'd on that.
Are there other questions?
Are there any other questions? You guys can put them in the chat, and we can also unmute you if you prefer. Question, heard there may be a shift in analysts.
We'll pass that on to Jackie.
Yeah, there will. We have been mentioning it at the regional meetings. And we have 7 new folks here, 5 of whom are analysts. So program analysts. So yes, some of you may be getting a new analyst, and that'll be effective October 1st. But meanwhile, you may see a new program analyst visiting you during a site visit with your current program analyst. So I don't know which ones of you are getting new analysts, but that's the plan going forward, because we had, some of you may know, we had a loss, like in Buffalo, both Brian and Nicole left at the end of last year, and there's been other changes, and we have a new person in New York City. So likely there will be a number of you who get new analysts. So you have something to look forward to.
Okay. At the regional meetings, you also mentioned some of the forms would be updated. Maybe have access to those updated forms sooner so we can begin to work on them.
Yeah, we talked about the A1.
Yeah, so these are our legal forms, that the only thing that you have to is there's one page you're gonna put your agency contact and address. The other ones is just your contract number. You will be getting them soon, but we are trying hard to get a training set up prior to releasing those if possible. So you know what you're looking at and you can, we want to show you what changes were made. So you're understanding what you're looking at, but we will get back to you on that.
Okay, so question for federal fiscal year 2026. I received the 2026 New York State Department of State award list for CSBG entitlements. Does this mean that we will receive this funding for federal fiscal year 2026? I know there have been talk of reductions. Are there any insights?
So these amounts that you received, your allocation for 2026 were our projections we made at the end of 2024. Last year, we talked about during the regional meetings that we are under a new 5-year procurement. We come up with these amounts based on the previous 5 years and try to project what it's going to look like. I can't tell you if those are going to be your allocations for 2026. I don't have that insight. We're hoping that stays that way. And we won't know until we get our final notice of grant award. So this is what we're going to start with and hope for the best.
Are there any other questions? I think that answers everything. I think Tanya, did that answer your question? Sounds like our program analysts will remain intact throughout the budget process because that won't take effect until October 1st.
Right, yeah.
Right, yes. So some questions look like they're coming from Victor, but they're not actually Victor. Yes, yeah. Okay, we've got some thanks. Thanks to everyone. All right. So thank you very much for joining. If you think of any questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out to your program analyst, to your fiscal rep. In shared mailbox if you're not sure who they are, but hopefully you do.
Are there anything else? Thank you all. And as Shayla said, please reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to serve you. Thank you.